So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the Tyap Wikimedians Bootcamp 2025. So, this is the second edition of the bootcamp since we started last year, and this year we aim to have it in another way. This year, we are not going to have it in a long stretch. We are going to have, series of lessons on the Tiap language, lessons. So we are going to still have our elder Etolakila Bungon as our main teacher, and he is going to be taking us online. I mean, in person, on Saturdays, like from tomorrow by 9:30 a.m. We are going to start the very first lesson. So, for those of us who have not been able to or rather, what I was about to say was that for those of us who are around Kaduna and you have been selected amongst those who were qualified to attend in person, tomorrow there may be an election or there will be an election. So I don't know how we're going to do it because we never actually took account of the election, but we hope that at the end of the day, we'll still have people who are able to attend. So for those of us who may not go for the elections, please come. And those of us who are able to finish quick, please come so that we continue. We are going to air it just as we are airing this very one. So let me just hand over the mic to Kuya to chip in, then I'll start. We'll start the whole thing by 7:10. Thank you.
Okay, Kambai, thank you so very much, and good evening, everyone. Ntinyanaban, Sintinyanaga, Alaba. So, Nungwange Choli, Friday, Kuyet Musa. My name is Friday Kuyet Musa. So, um, again, we welcome you especially for the Tyap Wikimedians User Group Bootcamp 2020 Season 2, that's 2025. This is the second edition of the bootcamp, and this one is intended to run so specially in a series, not as the way the last one went. So we intend to run this one in a different format, and we hope this one is going to be more elaborating and more interesting because we have a whole lot of series of events that will roll down within this period. So once again, you are all welcome, and we hope that we are going to get into it all together as we move ahead. So thank you very much, Kamba. Thank you.
So Igwai actually players. So Nankuta Liadwoni. Insutaka Alionu Kaba. So Angenu Kambai Oko. So uh, na mwak Yanganet Achang Yatu Gutiai Apyanguka Azanson. Uh, so Naona Kyak Yatu. Gwai.
Mjazi sere.
So Sankwazo
Speak
Shimbiatu.
more.
Zugwai duniya insiya pienzi fun ma tum bootcamp tani. Ngwange tuli Zakaria Didam Sankwai.
Havana.
So onyin sere.
Yes,
Ngwai.
yes, sir.
Mbia shi cherkonya na malika. Nongwange ngwasiam danjuma waka Anthony. Ngwai nang minshima ngare tungjiniani.
Havana.
Gwai.
Ndị anyị
So,
na-edika
oh, Rishimachi.
ihe ni shakubatu mfange nyang shima to kuneku da bu yang
This one in
Sonnet.
Lagos.
Gwai.
The David, Michael, showed you then. Kadora check, you can introduce yourself, David. David, kali ara zuka onwaranka ka hukuran shamba. Kadora yam biyan wata. Okay. Kamba
Kange
David,
wona liar golat.
mwani.
So, gugwaibat mang konya nga bayani afunka zinata mang tiai kyangu ko bayan zidani ho. So kadot yang kya kike mang tiap jimon shonja.
Ya son
Yes.
because
So
the biyo si baba na quiz da ne da ba fun ti abjuba. So
so
ya din sha.
so gugwaibat. So, without wasting much time, I'm going to share my screen and then we'll begin. We are going to make it very fast. It's not here long. It's not here long. Morgan Zodu. Zodu. What is this sergeant? So, it's not Banchum. It's not Banchum. What the name was it?
Eh,
So, it's not Banchum. It's this
ya mo
sergeant.
so mo so na
It's not Tia Kuzan.
ngano.
I'm fine.
Eh,
So, Monica, Nako slide number. I'll share my screen with us and then we begin to see how the whole thing is. So, Kadod, yung one nan China.
zili.
Okay,
Eh, really.
yeah, so it's a guide to learn to read and write. Yep, that is the introduction. So this is a short transition literacy course for beginners. So Suni is just meant for mba nang ange balian kyan ko kya ba ke balian they don't really have an idea about anything language at all. In fact, they have never even attended anything having to do with language, but they at least know English language. And some of us maybe we know Hausa language, and some of us maybe we know Yoruba or Igbo or French. So you knowing another language is a very big advantage to you. So the next slide says, sorry, Jangnan. So Ali Atu Agwayani, a financial Yellow. So welcome to the Tyap Transitional Literacy course. So this literacy course was actually put together by the Tyap Wikimedians User Group and the Tyap Language Development Board. So we are collaborating with the Tyap Language Development Board to make sure that whatever we do in the Tyap Language Wikimedia User Group as it relates to the Tyap language. We use the right orthography, we use the right spelling system, we use the right we use the right things that are approved by the board so that we would all be in synchrony. That is, we would all be on the same page with one another. So the very aim, Judge, uh, for this very event is to enable people who are already literate in a major language to become familiar with the basic principles of linguistics and acquire the basic skills in reading and writing in TIAP fluently using the approved TIAP orthography. So the grammar ba shaji ba shafaji na principles linguistic iwange linguistic iwange in shopalo iwange orthography. So zina fakt kyau nan photography ufa manazia soneni. Then organization, the organizers now, this program is actually organized, just as I said earlier on, by the Tyap Wikimedians User Group, which is represented by myself and by Kuet Musa Friday, and then the Tyap Language Development Board, which is represented by the by Atieli at Akila Dutebungo. And let me ask you now, are you actually ready to go into this whole thing, or should we wait a bit, or should we all go home and rest?
I just getting started. Let's fire.
Okay, okay. So, introduction. it is good that we know what literacy, orthography, and linguistics are. Have you any idea what they are? I see some people are actually like, ah, the actually some kwaji, ngwashaji. Anyawabje bukani. So bukala bukali mga kwika kunyantiatai. So we don't really know what literacy is. We don't know what orthography is. We don't know what linguistics are. But we are going to find out very soon what all these things are. So, what is literacy? Literacy is the ability to read and write fluently in a given language. It's as simple as that. If you can read, you can write, that means you are literate. So a person who can read and write is said to be literate. And from some people will be like, ah, look at this man, look at this village man, you are illiterate. You are illiterate. So a non-literate person can neither read nor write. Now, someone can be literate in English and Hausa, but not literate or non-literate in Tiap. So, atu ang one yang net mo pampamang amalinguka. Asitag mangunya one, you are a very illiterate person, but the person can be able to read and write. Is that person actually an illiterate? Is it because you have gone to China, you have gone to Japan, so now you have become an illiterate person, and then the person who has not gone to Japan, but he can read in Tiap, you are calling him an illiterate. So what this very page is telling us is that if you can be able to read in English, for example, or you can be able to read in Tiap, or you can be able to read even Japanese, that means you are literate, and you can be able to write also. But any language you cannot be able to read, you cannot be able to write, then you are illiterate in that very language. So what is then an orthography? But let me come back again. But on this very page, I will need somebody to tell me what a literate person is. Who is a literate person? Onyawange will literate too. Who is a literate person? Actually, Babel.
A literate. Okay, let me try.
Okay.
I think a literate person is someone that that can communicate with you in the language that that can give you feedback in the language you communicate with him. That means you can respond to you.
Okay. Okay. So
That
to you,
he can understand you, respond to you in the language you are communicating with him.
okay, so that means to you, a literate person is someone who can speak the language you communicate in and gives you feedback when you speak. Then,
Yeah.
okay, but what the passage told us is that a literate person is somebody that can read and the person can write. In other words, we have a lot of people that can be able to speak a language and a lot of people that can be able to write a language. But then that is not a language that is their own. We have a lot of people that are literate in English. They can read, they can write. But then amongst the Tiap speakers, we have a lot of people who speak Tiap very well. In fact, they speak Tiap like Marogandu, Magata. And some people, they can read the language, they can read it, but then they can't read it very well. So those people are not fully literate. But somebody who can read it without problem, if you see a particular word, you don't have to think, you don't have to think very deep. Once you just see the word, you know it. So that is telling us that you are literate in the very language. If you read the passage again, it says the ability to read and write in a particular language. But anybody can get to Elia, to Kali Elia, Jaunan, and Jureniba. Ka yorong Elia ni Elia fang jo chao na angwane ni Elia semun fang chao na ngwane ni pa na zungwane ni pa. So that person is an illiterate, a total illiterate. Okay. So what is an orthography? An orthography is actually a set of rules for using, or I mean the repetition now, for using the writing system of a language. English, Hausa, and Tiap have different rules for spelling. What I say is that every language has a way in which they spell their own words. For example, in English language, when you are writing the name of a city or a name of a language, you are expected to start by capitalizing the letter. You can see Tiap. Can you read English Aji is starting with a capital letter. If you see Hausa Aji is starting with a capital letter. If you look at Tiap is starting with a capital letter because this is the rule of English. And when you are starting the sentence, you start with a capital letter. But casting at the like if you go to French language, for example, if they are writing the name of this very language, Hausa, they will write with a small letter. Because it is starting, English is the one starting this sentence. English is going to start with capital letter, but any other one like this is going to start with a small letter. Like Hausa will be small letter, Tia will be small letter, but that is French. But when you now come to German, every noun you are seeing here will be in capital letter. In other words, rules is in capital letter. This one small letter because it's a verb. Then this one is going to be small letter. This is small letter, small letter, small letter. But this one is going to be capital letter. This is capital letter, small letter, small letter. Language is going to be capital letter, starting with a capital letter. So in German, every noun has to be capitalized. Every noun has to be capitalized. French, the language, names of language, you can leave them in small letters. But English, names of language and every proper noun has to be capital. The same thing with Tiap. In Tiap, we follow the English system, whereby if you have a proper noun, you start with the capital letter. But some people, if they want to write Tiap, they'll go and write Tiap with small letter. For example, if they want to even say thank God, they want to say thank God, they'll go and write the God in small letter. That is even English. Zugwaigwaza, they will write the in small letter, or if it's the Gwaza, they will write small letter, which is very wrong. So that is the orthography. It is a rule that should not be broken. So what is orthography also? Orthography also indicates the type of symbols we use. So in other words,
Okay, Ononyuka Aliara, your mic is muted. Your mic is muted.
uh, so I've unmuted now. But was it so long since it went mute?
No, 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 like 5 seconds.
Okay, okay. So I'm going. So I will share the screen again. Really screen now. So for writing here, if you are writing a proper noun, you have to start with a capital letter. Kanya Ngwagwaza. Ngwagwaza will be in capital letter. You know, Ngwai can be a small letter, but if you are starting the sentence, then the N is going to be in capital letter. Then any other one like Gwai is going to be small letter. Then Ogwaza, you are starting with a capital letter. So that's a rule for the Tiap language. So orthography also indicates the type of symbols we use. So the types of symbol we are using the Latin alphabet for writing Tiap and English and Hausa and many other languages. We are going to get to that. And then orthography also guides or gives rules for punctuation, capitalization, tonal marks, whether to write from left to right or from right to left, etc. And it also acts as a constitution. You know, every country has a constitution, and everybody has to follow the constitution. If you go to the court of law, you have to follow the constitution. All the judges, all the lawyers, they all follow the constitution of the country, and then they look at subsection this and that. What does the subsections this and that say? And then they give judgment. The same thing with us. If you write in Tiap and then you start to spell your name, or you start to spell the name of another person using kind of a small letter, they will now go back to the Tiap orthography. Oh, the Tiap orthography says in subsection this and subsection that you should not use small letter when you are starting the name of a person or the name of a language. So you are writing Tiap with small letter. That one is a very big offense in Tiap. In fact, that one is like 5 years jail time, you know. So if you are going to carry that one to court of law, every language orthography has to be followed. And some people actually, if they are going to spell like liat, the orthography says you should spell it Lyat, Lyat, liat. But some people will spell Liyat, Liyat, which is capital wrong. So this orthography gives us how to punctuate our language. Punctuation can have like that underscore when we write for example, like a tiap. If you write then you put underscore under it. That's a punctuation. Actually, it's a diacritic, but a diacritic is also a punctuation. So all those diacritics, if you don't put that underscore, that small dash under letter A, is going to be atiap. And are you Atiap? No, you are Atiap actually. And this orthography gives us the rule for writing that kind of a punctuation. And then capitalization, which I have already spoken about. And then tonal mark is in Tiap. We are told that when we are giving plural forms of words like John, John, it's just Zon, and then the plural form is also spelled John. But then you have to indicate with a rising tonal mark that this one is not singular, it is plural. So that's why we put a tonal mark for John. The same thing with Etiok and Etiok, like the singular for Etiok, we don't put any tonal mark at the very top. But then in plural form of Otiok, we put a rising tone above the A, which has an underscore. So that's the rule for Tiap. And then if we are writing from the direction of our writing is usually from from left to right, because we are using the Latin alphabet. But for those who are using the Arabic alphabet, like the Arabic language itself, like old Hausa language writing, the Ajami, they write from right to left. Even Yoruba, old Ajami, they use from right to left. Even Uyghur in China, they use from right to left. So our own rule says that we should start from left to right. So the next page now. Um, so the next page gives us the characteristics of an effective orthography. So what are the characteristics of an effective orthography? Please let's listen very well. An orthography has to be very accurate, very, very accurate. For example, the word cat, C-A-T in English, accurately represents the sounds K, A, and then T, cat. Well, get to Shomwaba. So for the English language, the letter C can have like up to three sounds. We can have K sound, we can have S sound, we can have the sh sound. For example, the K sound like cat, as you can see here. And then if it is to cease, C-E-A-S-E, it's having the S sound. And then when we have succession, um, succession, or I don't know which other example I can give that has sound again, but you can find out for yourself. But in Tiap, when you come to Tiap, the letter C doesn't accurately represent the sound K. Instead, letter C will give us ch in Tiap, not K. In other words, we have some people that bear the name Chat. Earlier on, the name Chat was spelled C-H-A-T, but there was a little adjustment and the C was replaced with, the CH was replaced with a letter C. That's an agreement from the language board, the Tyap Language Development Board. So in other words, whether it is written CHAT or CAT, it is still chat as long as you are reading it in Tyap language. That's the agreement, that's the accuracy, because the chat sound is accurately represented by the letter C. While consistency talks about, for example, if happy is spelled with a double P in English language, then sappy should follow with the same rule. In other words, when you have happy and then you have sappy, you have double P, and then if you have cappy, cappy should also be double P. But then in English language, we don't really find this consistency, all through the language. But in Tiap, as much as possible, our orthography tries to be, a bit accurate with the way people pronounce it. Like in English, when somebody says, um, like I don't know how many English words. I don't have an idea right now, but maybe another time I will think about it. And then convenience, for example, simple spelling rules that allow for quick learning. For example, if I comes before E, like in field. Or rather, for example, it is set as a rule in English language that whenever you have an I, then that I should come before an E. For example, in the word field, for example, field, except in certain cases, like in the case of receive, when you have C before the E, then or before the I, then you should switch it the other way. Well, that's the rule of writing English language. In other words, you can have a chain of writing, even though we know that in English, in American English and in British English, they usually spell differently. American English would put the before the E, while British English will put the E before the I. But then in some other cases, they will rhyme with each other. Well, that's for English language. But then for Tyap language, we have Y always coming before I, like in Ziat, for example, Ziat. So you should not write I then Y. No, it's not Liat, it's not Liat, it's Ziat, Ziat. Okay, so Ziat for Tyap to speak. And then except in certain exceptional cases like Nigeria, Manini. So in this very case now, this is not an actual Tiap word, it's a borrowed word. So we write it this way, for convenience. But then the orthography is still developing. Tiap is not as established a language like English language. So we are still getting to understand some things that are very peculiar with the Tiap language. So let's go forward. Then acceptability. A language orthography has to be acceptable by a large number of people. For example, the standard spelling for color in American English is COLOR, while the standard spelling for color in the British English is COLOUR. You see, British spelling, as much as possible, tries to spell close to French because France and England are very close. So, and they have a very long relationship. But then the Americans, since English went to the American continent, a lot of changes had happened in the English language in America. So they all have their own set rules for writing English in America and English in Great Britain. For TIAP, we also have our own way of spelling. Like we know, or so those of us who don't know, the TIAP language actually has the code KCG, and that KCG has about 7 dialects, and that's those 7 dialects include the Tiap Mabadodo, that's the Tiap which is spoken in the Tiap chiefdom, their Tiap chiefdom, and then we also have Fantuam, and then we have Gorok, we have Taka, we have Tuku, we have Techerat, then we have Sholyo, and then we have which other one again? Um, we have Takat. So these variants, they are all variants of the same language, just that the politics will now enter into it. If you say Tiap, then it means or it looks like you are talking about only the variety that is spoken around the Tiap chiefdom, which actually doesn't really define the language itself. So Sholyo is just a variant of the same language, but we can still choose to call Tiap Sholyo, or you can still choose to call Tiap Grok. We can still choose to call Tiap Phantom. They are all the same language because before now we don't have a common name for all these dialects or all these variants of the same language. So we are finding it difficult to integrate or to understand what the word Tiap is whenever we call Tiap. Or maybe we should call it KCG language. I don't know. So maybe with time we'll get to understand ourselves better and be able to define all these words very well. And then we also have conformity. A language must conform to the dictionary standards. Every language has a dictionary. For the Tiap language, we are still developing the dictionary, and hopefully by December we are going to have a Tiap dictionary published, officially. So for Tiap spellings, we are going to have them standardized, but then we have the Tiap New Testament, which currently serves as our official document for spelling. So if you are confused about a spelling, you can go to the New Testament and you spell according to the New Testament, even though there are some changes or some little adjustment like the CH that is used in the New Testament. We just write with C, and then some few words like that, like share, for example, SHYA with an underscore, it is spelled in the New Testament, but in the dictionary being developed, we are spelling it SHYIA. IA with an underscore, shear. Just like we have tier, TYIA with an underscore, tier, cheer, cheer, here, tier, sheer, all those spellings, they are usually YIA with an underscore. So it's a pattern that these words are having. So that's why share is also to have that same pattern. So the words that you are spelling in an orthography should all rhyme with what is obtainable in the dictionary. Okay. So for English language, the British would like to spell it with a U, as you can see in color, while the Americans would delete the U and then they spell it. In America, this is the accepted spelling, while in Britain, this is the accepted spelling for spelling the English language word favorite. So I don't know who will tell us what orthography is. And you want to mazid kyawuna orthography fa. Who will tell us what an orthography, who what an orthography is? It's a very short definition. Don't want to- So who tell us what an orthography is? Who tell us what an orthography is? What is an orthography? What is an orthography, people? What's an you want to get orthography?
Orthography,
Yes.
as you said,
Yeah.
or as you explained earlier,
Just with
orthography
any.
is, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you very well, loud and clear.
Yes, as you explained earlier, orthography is a set of rules that guide the writing of every language. Every language has their own rules of writing. The
Okay.
English, we talk about the maybe American and also the French, and also just like the same, the Tyap and all other language, they have their
Okay.
must be followed. If they are not followed, you cannot get the right thing, or you may write the wrong thing, even though you think that you are writing the correct thing.
So
So that's concept.
by your own definition now, so it is safe to say an orthography is a writing system of a language. Welcome. So okay, I take that again. I said by your own definition now, it is safe to say that orthography is a writing system of a language. That is a summary of what you just described.
Hmm. So I think Rokundi concurs if I got it right. So an orthography is actually the way you spell the rules, the set of rules for writing any language is the writing system, is the etc of a language. Everything that defines the language. So let's go back to our script. So I'll share again and then I'll continue from where we stop. The lesson is not going to be so long, but we need to participate in it. So what do we understand by the word script? Script. Scripts are a set of symbols used for writing or the writing of a language. The different types of scripts, because scripts actually contribute consists of different types. We have alphabets, we have abjads, we have abugidas, we have syllabaries, we have logo graphic systems. Alphabets are actually basically letters. For example, you have A, B, C, D, E, F, and each of them have a symbol. A has a symbol, B has a symbol, individual symbol, C has a symbol. So when you combine O and N together, O and N, it will give you on. And then when we combine T and O, it will give you two. That is an alphabet. But what is an abjad? An abjad is A, B, G, like an Arabic alphabet, kind of. So not every language has, or not only every orthography, not every script arranges their own alphabet A, B, C, D, E. Some of them arrange their own alphabet like this: alpha, beta, gamma. In other words, you have A, then you have B, you have G, you have D, you have E, and then it will end in O. And in other languages, their own will end in T. So these are the different types of alphabets we just have. Like abjad is a kind of, well, it's a kind of alphabet, well, but the arrangement is not really the same thing with the one you have in Latin alphabet. And then the abugidas is just like A, B, G, D, stuff like that. And then for syllabaries are not like the abugidas, abjads, and alphabets. Syllabaries are you have a particular symbol. For example, if I enlarge my screen right now, if I enlarge my screen, we are going to see some certain types of writings. I can't enlarge more than this, but if you are able to see this place, Unko, Unko is having an alphabet. You see Arabic here. Arabic is using an alphabet. You see Tifinagh. Tifinagh is using an alphabet. But then we have Cherokee. Cherokee is using syllabary because this letter that looks like a C now is not really representing one sound. It's representing like cha, for example, or ga, or la, or li, or ki. So it is combining both a consonant and a vowel. So it's just like a syllable. For example, if I say the word jumping, jumping consists of two syllables. So if you are using some of those scripts, jump will have a particular symbol, and then ping will have another symbol. If you look at Latin, it's two syllables, Latin. If you look at alphabet here, it's three syllables, al, fa, bet. So it's on alphabet, it's on script, you have a symbol for al, then you have a symbol for fa, you have a symbol for bet. At the end of the day, you are going to have just three letters, but those three letters have three complete sounds. And if you are to translate that letter to the Latin script now, it's going to give you a very long, just like you are seeing Cherokee here by this very corner. So this is Chi, Ro, Ki. So Chi and Ro and Ki, I'm not sure I'm correct too, but I think that is the sense in it, because this is a syllabary actually. But then we also have another type of script called the logographic systems, like the old Egyptian writing system. They are just using some kind of, you see the picture of a bird, but that bird has a sound. It has its own meaning. And then when you look at this Chinese script, you are going to see this very symbol. It is not actually a syllable. I don't know if it's a syllable, but it seems to be a syllable. I don't know. It's not a syllable. It's a logograph, or kind of an ideograph. An ideograph is like you draw something that looks like a particular thing that you're going to refer to it. Like you draw a symbol that looks like the sun, and then in your language you already have a word for sun. For example, when we draw a round something like this, and then we put some dot around the sun, then we call it mam in Tyap. You can also use the same symbol, but then they will now call their own nom. And then like Hiam also use the same symbol, and then they will call it their own also nom. And then Hausa will look at it, you say no, this one is Rana. And then another language, maybe English, will look at the same symbol and then call it sun. So you can see in Japan and then in China, they use the same kind of symbols, but the way they call the same thing, you are seeing the same thing, is different. So they can spell the same thing, but Japanese will call it another thing, and then Chinese will call it another thing, because it is only representing the idea of that very thing. They are just drawing it. So these are different writing systems. So Tiab, English and Hausa languages all use the Latin or Roman alphabet. Sorry, my screen is going haywire. So we are using the Roman or Latin alphabetical script. We are not using abjad, we are not using abugidas, we are not using syllables, we are not using logographs. We are using the alphabet, an alphabet of the Romans. The English also use the alphabet of the Romans. And then we have other scripts like the Greek script, we have the Cyrillic script they use in Russia. The Greek script is used in Greece. It's used in Pontus. That's around the Pontics and the Dodecanese Islands, close to Greece or close to Turkey. And then we have the Hebrew alphabet. The Cyrillic alphabet is used for writing Russian. It's used for writing Ukrainian, Bulgarian, and all those languages that speak the Slavic languages. And then we have the Ge'ez or the Ethiopic script, which is used in Ethiopia and in Eritrea. And then we have the Arabic script, which is used in Saudi Arabia, is used in North Africa, is used in most of Central Eastern Asia. And then we have the Devanagari, which is used in India for the Hindustani languages like Urdu, Hindu, and stuff like languages like that around India. And then we have the Chinese script, or no, the Chinese ideograph, which is used in Japan, is used in China and Taiwan. And then you have the Hangul. The Hangul is used in Korea, mainly North and South Korea. And then we have the Thai alphabet, we have the Bengali, we have the Coptic, which is used in English, in Egypt rather. And then we have Armenian script. The Isibidi is actually a script that has been existing since at least 400 BC. That was developed around northern part of Cross River State and parts of Cameroon, used for writing the Ekoi languages. And then also Igbo uses it. Areas like Igbo Igala in those days used it, and languages around southern Nigeria used it before now. And then the Vice script is used around Liberia. And then the Unko is used for writing Manding languages like Mandinka, Mandingo, and Bambara Chula, and those languages around Mali, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, and Gambia, and all the rest of the West African countries towards the western part. And then the Cherokee alphabet is used in North America. Cray is used in around Canada, and then many other scripts. So you can see this very table now, and then you can see a comparison of how this very first column is showing us examples of English letters. And then this is the archaic, that's the olden this Roman way of rendering these English letters. You can see the way Romans rendered it before now. And then you see the way Greek alphabets were rendered, the archaic, the old Greek letters. These are the way they were rendered. Then the Phoenician alphabet. By the way, the Greek alphabet was derived from the Phoenician. The Phoenician alphabet is actually the alphabet used around the Canaan area. That's around where Egypt is. I mean, where Israel is right now, and around where Lebanon and part of Syria is. So the Phoenicians were the ones that developed this alphabet from the Egyptian, and then the Greeks copied from the Phoenicians, and then the Romans copied from the Greeks, and then the English copied from the Romans. So everybody is just copying and going. Then the Brahma script was also copied from the Phoenician, and then developed into other variants. And then later on, it now developed into the modern Nagari, which they use for Hindi, for Urdu, and those languages around India. So that's the way the alphabets were copied from one place, and then they begin to be shared all over the world. So we have hundreds of these scripts. Now, for the future of writing Tyap and Nenzit languages, which are the Platoid languages, a script was developed called the Akai script, and we shall not go into details about this very script, but we can be able to see examples of how this script is written, like the R's for capital letter, the small letter, then the capital letter for and the small letter for then the B, the Chi, the D, the A, the Fi, the G, I mean the Fa, or the Fi, and then the G, the B, the He, like that, until you read Z or Z. So this script also has other symbols for mathematics, and then for diacritics, and so on and so forth. So you can go and learn more about this script on Commons or on Wikidata. So now, from what we have just done now, can I ask a question again? What is a script? What is a script? Can someone tell us what a script is? Before we move over to linguistics, can someone please tell us what a script is? So, Atoli Shakubabeo, Achaka Kiana, you want to say something? So, I think your mic is muted. You can unmute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Okay, okay. Just like we learn a script is a set of symbols used in writing of a language, like the alphabet we have in English.
Okay, so I think you have done justice to that. So a script is actually a way of writing. In other words, the Romans have their own way of writing, and you cannot actually read the Greek script if you don't learn it. And you cannot be able to read the Armenian script if you don't learn it. And even the Akai, you cannot be able to learn it. You cannot be able to read it if you don't learn it. But if it is the same script, if I write in Tyap from beginning to end, the end, I write in English, I write in Hausa. You as a Tyap speaker can be able to read in English, even though you may not be able to understand the English. If I use the Roman script and I write a Polish language, you as a Tyap speaker, you'll be able to read it, but you not understand the language. But if I use um, let me mute everyone so that okay. Okay, so if I write the Greek alphabet or in the Greek script now, you as an English speaker, you may not be able to read the talk less of even understand the message inside the what the script is talking about. So that's the difference between a script and an orthography, or rather a script and an alphabet or a writing. How do I even call it now? Um, so I believe that we understand what a script is. Can you? Right? So let me continue to share my screen so that we can be able to ask our questions and then we rest for today. So what is linguistics? Linguistics is the study of languages. Some of its aspects include grammar, semantics, syntax, even morphology, etc etc. So two relatively new areas to some of us are phonetics and phonology, and then they will hopefully help us to acquire the needed skills for reading and writing in Tiap. So the study of a language, if you go to school and then you learn just language and then you get a certificate at the end of the day, you could be called a linguist. That means you have gone through the necessary trainings and then you have learned about linguistics, the basics of linguistics, or maybe you have become a professional in linguistics. Now you are qualified to be called a linguist. And then we have these aspects that are included in linguistics, like grammar. Grammar has to do with, let's say, parts of speech, for example. When you see a word, you know that this is a noun. When you see a word, you know that this is a verb, this is an adjective, this is a noun clause, stuff like that. That is grammar. And then semantics. Semantics have to do with the meanings of words. For example, the old English word suffer, SUFFER. The meaning used to be to be to allow somebody. For example, if I want to say allow me to go right now in old English, I'll just say suffer me to go. I'll say suffer me to go. But in new English, the modern English now, if I say suffer me, you will say suffer me how? I'm not here to suffer you. So what we understand by suffer in modern English is that it has to do with inflicting of pain, stuff like that. And that is semantic, actually semantics. For you to be able to understand linguistics very well, you have to be able to understand the meanings of words. you see a word, you'll be able to understand the context in which that very word is used. And then what is syntax? Syntax is simply the arrangement of words in a sentence. For example, if I write the study of languages, in which we may not arrange these words exactly the same way. For example, if I'm going to translate to Tyap, I will translate the study of languages as Miam, and Miam means study. Miam Lilium, or maybe uh, I don't know. Is that translation okay?
Yes, yes,
Miam,
that's yes.
okay, Miam Lilium.
Mm.
So you see, I've deleted, although it is still arranged the way the English is arranged, the miam came before the lilium, but it's not in all cases. Sometimes I have to bring this word to the front first. Okay, yes, the study of languages is miam lilium who. Kani, miam who, that's the study. So miam who is simply study the. So our definite article in TIAP is who, for Miam. By the way, in TIAP we have 6 ways of rendering the word the in TIAP. So every word has a separate way to render the in TIAP. In other words, if you have Miam who for the study, Lilium would be who also in this very case. But if you say language, language is a liam, and a liam will not be who anymore, it will be ka. So a liam ka will render it. In English, the definite article comes first before the noun. But in Tiap, the noun will come first before the definite article. So that's the difference between Tiap. So that has to do with syntax. It's the arrangement of words in a sentence. And another difference is that between Tiap and Ju could have been called the same language with Tiap, yes, but then Ju's syntax is different with Tiap's syntax. For example, if I want to say I like it, for example, I will just say Nchat who or Nchan who in Tiap. N is I, chat is like, then who is it. But Antokari Ryokundi, please unmute and tell us what I like it is in you. Nchan who in you. How do you render it in you? Antokari Ryokundi, are you still there?
I think his network,
Okay, I think you are still muted.
the network
Okay,
might
how
have
do you
kicked him
say?
out. There.
Okay, no, he's still here. So if he doesn't say it, maybe I will say it in you. So
Can you hear me now?
okay, yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said
So how do
chat.
you say
Is it chat?
I like it in you
Okay. I like it in Jesus. In, in chat.
in chat? Is it new chat or in chat?
It could be in chat or not in chat. In chat. I like.
I
But you
like
have to
it.
add something that you like. You have to add with that something that you like. In chat, Kyangani.
Yes, that's the it. It. In
Yes.
chat kyangani. Okay, what of I like it? I like it. It.
His network is bad.
Okay. So, for example, if I want to say I like you in Tiap, I'll just say chat kani chat and I chat like and you. But in you just say chat. I don't know if it is right, but if I'm wrong, Achokari Rokundi can correct me. It will be Nachat or something like that. So the an or the na will now come before the chat in Ju. Meanwhile, in Tiap, you switch it
Like
to the other way. In other
in the
words,
chat.
not chat. So in Ju, it will be not chat, not nchana, not nchadang. You see,
Yes, the
because
chat.
of syntax, that makes it yeah, not chat. So that makes it difficult for you as a Tiap speaker to be able to understand the Ju person very well. The syntax. The same thing happens in language. The syntax of English and that of German, they are two different. Sometimes they look alike, but sometimes the German language syntax is different, completely different, just as we are having Tiap and Ju syntax. So that is syntax. And then we also have morphology and other things. So phonology and phonetics, we are going to get to understand what they are much more later. So let's take a deep breath and look at the next page. So let's pause here for today. So actually the whole lesson for it's not so long, but before we go to the next slide, let me ask someone what actually is linguistics to you as a person. What do you understand linguistics to mean? What is linguistics? So can someone unmute to tell us what linguistics is? You are getting
Hello, good
linguistics.
evening, sir.
Uh,
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you very loud and clear.
Yes, as you can say, linguistics is the study of languages, how they are pronounced, written, and everything. Is it?
Yeah. Okay. So you tried very well. You tried very well. So linguistics actually is study of languages, just as we saw it here. If you study English language and you get a certificate, you are qualified to be called a linguist. You study TIAP in the university and you get a certificate in TIAP, you are called a linguist. You study Hausa, you study German, you study Japanese, you get a certificate in it. You may not even get a certificate, but you are certified. You have the knowledge of it because before linguistics was introduced into the universities, who wrote the books for language? You know, so before we even have something called, let's say, medicine, for example, who wrote the books? Who gave the certificate for those who wrote the books before they started teaching them in the university? So will you say those people are not linguists? Will you say those people are not doctors? No. They have the knowledge of what linguistics is, and then they wrote the books, and then those books were now used for training of people who want to also have knowledge of what they know. So if you have the knowledge, not necessarily the certificate, then you are a linguist. You have knowledge of linguistics, you are a linguist. So that is that for today. And then we'll go over to our assignment. We are going to give you an assignment, and this is the assignment. And the assignment says that you should define 5 characteristics of a good orthography. And if you go to the earlier slides, you are going to see these good 5 characteristics of a good orthography, and you see some examples, but the definitions were not put there. So you can define this accuracy, consistency, convenience, acceptability, and conformity. That's your own work for this very session. So when we come in the next class, you may be asked what consistency, accuracy, convenience, acceptability, and conformity is to you. And then the second assignment is that you should take a look at the archive script, which was developed for further for future writing of the Tyap language, to learn to draw each
I think we might be having some network difficulty. Please, let's hold on a bit. We'll be back now. The network somehow in Kaduna now is something else. So while we are waiting for him to come back, for those of us who are here and has been shortlisted for the boot camp, which is coming up in person